to government as a whole topic, the critical analysis of government, and all of that. Now, when we look at the word government, government has been defined by various scholars. Government has been defined by various scholars. But today, as I said earlier, we'll be looking at the in-depth analysis of what government is. Now, government can be derived from the two words gouverneur. Let me write it here. Gouverneur, and gubernaculum. From the Latin word gouverneur and from the Greek word gubernaculum. Now, these two words basically means the governing of affairs, the manner at which the state is being ordered. Alright. As I said earlier, various scholars have actually defined the meaning of government. But today, we'll be looking at just one, which is Appadural. Appadural, a political scientist, defined government in 1975. Basically, Appadural defined government into three different worldviews. The first one was government as an institution of the state, government as an institution of the state, government as an act or process of governing the state, and the last one is government as an academic field of study. As I said earlier, this class will be looking in-depth analysis of government. Now, let's look at the first one. Government as an institution. It's visible now. Government as an institution. Now, we see that government can be defined as a machinery, defined by the state for the growth and development of the state. Now, we can see that in this sense, government is a machinery by which the goals of the state and the goals of the state are being actualized. That is, without a government in a well-defined territory, that is a state, the state cannot be in an orderly manner. The government helps in keeping the state and doing some activities. Now, looking at government as an institution of the state, we'll be going critically into the arms of government. That is, the structure of government. Without this structure, a state cannot be well defined, and without this government, a state cannot be well defined. A state cannot be without a government. And what makes up the government are the executive, legislature, and judiciary. Now, we'll dive deeply into executive. Now, when you talk about the executive form of government, now the powers of the executive arm of government is actually saddled in the section 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Now, the executive arm of government, what power? The power vested in them is just the implementation. The power vested on them is just the implementation and the formulation of laws. The implementation of laws. They implement laws. That is the main duty. That is the main reason why the executive was introduced. Now, we have organ of executive. We have the civil service, and all of that. Now, let's talk about this. The head of the executive government at the federal level. The head of the executive government at the federal level is the president. As we all know, the president appoints ministers. The president appoints ministers based on the approval of the executive. While at the state level, the head of executive arm of government, the head of executive arm of government is the governor, well-elected governor, and the governor appoints commissioners. The government appoints commissioners based on the recommendation of the State House of Assembly. And we all know the first president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was the Zik. Let's talk about the Zik. We talk about Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the first president. President, note, he was a nominal president, a ceremonial president, and we have the first executive president as Shehu Shagari in the year 1979. Now the executive arm of government, they have various functions, but we'll not be going deeply into it because we're actually just defining what government is and all of that. Now we'll be moving to the next definition, the next broad use of how government was defined by Appadural in the year 1975. Government as an act or process of governing the state. Government as an act or process. When you talk about government as an act or process of governing the state, you talk about government being saddled with the responsibility of catering for the affairs of the state. That is, the government is actually vested with the power of maintaining peace and security by putting in place machinery for that purpose. That is, the government is saddled with the responsibility of catering for the affairs of the well-being of the state. That is, they control the state, they make sure the state is in orderly manner and in a state of well-being. Now look at this. Government makes law and enforce law for the people in the country. They make law, they enforce law, they interpret the laws for the people. We're basically looking at the functions of government. That is, what are the functions of government? The functions, looking at the functions of government. Now, talk about lawmaking. Talk about lawmaking. talk about provision of social amenities, talk about maintenance of law and order, talk about defense of the country, talk about protection of lives and property, talk about provision of employment, talk about formulation and implementation of policies, talk about promotion of economic activity, talk about external affairs function, administration of justice, maintenance of unity, settlement of disputes, economic function, political function, and all of that. There are various functions of government. Now, I realized that I escaped executive, legislature, and judiciary when I was talking about government as an action of the state. Now, do you all know the legislature? What the legislature? The that create law, they craft law. Those are the primary factors of the legislature. They create law, they craft law. And meanwhile, there are functions go read from that school basically. We'll be looking at it in-depthly when we're looking at arm of government or structures of government as the topic. I don't know. Legislature, the current Senate president is Godswill Akpabio. Is headed by Senate president called Godswill Akpabio. I know we all know that the National Assembly can be distributed into two, not distributed, they have two chambers, which is the Senate and the House of Rep. As you all know, Godswill Akpabio is the Senate president, that is the head of the Senate, that is the upper house. As you all know, the upper house is also called the Red House. Let's move. Why the House of Rep? The House of Rep, consists of 360 members, and the current chief speaker is Tajudeen. Sorry guys, trying to spell his name. Can doesn't make it up. Tajudeen Abbas. As you all know, the first Senate president was Nnamdi Azikiwe, and the first House of Rep, the first Senate speaker was Jaja Wachuku. Where we'll be moving deeply into that in the topic arm of government as a whole. Now, when we talk about government as an academic field of study, we talk about that now, as we are studying government now, it's actually one of the definitions, government as an academic field of study. Now, when government is seen as a study, that is, government is being studied in school. That's why we say government as an academic field of study. Now, let's proceed. Government as an academic field of study, it involves the political institution created for the study of government, study of our rules and regulation. It's also a social science subject, and we have various examples as government as an institution of government. We have the pole science, we have the public admin, that is public administration. Pole science, public administration. We have the international relation. Talk about the international relation. We have comparative politics. I know people to spell it here. Comparative politics, and the last one I will talk to you. We have history, we have sociology, we have philosophy, and all of that. Now let's look at just 5 attributes of government. Sorry guys, I'm cleaning the board. 5 attributes of government. We have law. We have political power. We have revenue. We have legitimacy, and we have periodic change. Now, when we talk about law, like as you know, law are the guidelines, the machinery guidelines that guide the behavior of citizens. Now, governments have the right to create law. They even bound to the law. Their code of conduct is bound by the law and all of that. Let's talk about political power. That is, they have the legal right, to control the affairs of the state. They have the legal right to control the affairs of the state. They have the legal right to control the affairs of the state. When you talk about government, they talk about revenue. Talk about government, needs enough revenue. That is, they generate revenue. They give revenue, statutory. I don't talk about that because we've not actually deal on that. We're just into the introduction to government. We have the workforce, and we have legitimacy. They are recognized by either external and internal. We have periodic change, and they always be periodic change for 4 years. It depends on the terms of the constitution. As of for Nigeria, is 4 per year. 4 per day, but they can be related for another year. So basically, this is all about government. And I pray God give us the grace to meet in the next class. And our next video should be on CRS or literature, as it may be. We see in the next class.